You're listening to the Eat 'em Up Pod, your home for Detroit Tigers opinions, discussion, nonsense, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Jordan Hall and Alex Urban.
Welcome to Eat 'em Up. I'm Jordan Hall, joined as always by the tailgate king of Detroit. It's Alex Urban. Alex, saw you went north, saw the finest northern Michigan has to offer this weekend.
We did. The Urban fam went up to Mackinac Island, saw everything there was to see, ate everything there was to eat, and we had a fantastic time. So my 4-year-old son, just had a ball up there. The twins did great. I had a great time with my in-laws, who were a big help with the kids. But all in all, just a fantastic trip, Jordan. I was telling you off air, this kind of thing reminds me of why I enjoy living in the beautiful state of Michigan. As you guys know, not a winter guy at all, but the summertime in the Great Lakes State, you can't beat it, especially in northern Michigan. It's beautiful. But as a northern Michigan native, you know all about that, Jordan.
Definitely. This is crazy. As someone who grew up in Traverse City, I've only been to Mackinac Island, I think, twice. Both times as field trips, which is, I feel like if you grow up in northern Michigan, you're there for field trips semi-regularly, but never went as of our own volition. Did you guys take the Clip Clop tour?
We didn't do the full formal tour, but we did do a horse taxi. So that was definitely a highlight. Did dinner at the Pink Pony. We did dinner at one of the Jamaican restaurants. Got the fudge. Checked out the fort there. But yeah, it was just fantastic. That was only my second time on the island as well. But we got to see a lot. And I got to say, late May is a great time to go. It was right after the Mackinac Policy Conference, which is that big political boondoggle. And then I believe Lilac Festival is next weekend. So sweet spot. Really
Nice.
like affordable prices for the hotels. So all in all, it was a beautiful weekend. Highly recommend it to anybody.
What do you think a horse taxi driver makes? Do you think that's a sustainable career? Kind of sounds nice. I could be into that.
It might. It does sound like a great career for half of a year. I'm not quite sure what goes on in the other half of the year when the horses fly south, as it were. But
I think you go down to like Charleston or Wilmington and Clip Clop tour down there.
Yeah. I think maybe we should start our own tour company.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. Do you think this would be kitschy enough to work on Mackinac Island? Because there is no rickshaws. Do you know what a rickshaw is?
Of course, as a Seinfeld enthusiast, yeah, of course I know what a rickshaw is. Go on.
Okay, so I want to start a rickshaw business, but wear one of those like plastic horse masks. And I feel like it's just kitschy enough, but I'm also worried that I could get like kneecapped by the horse union, if there is one, by stealing.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing. So just something I've been gnawing on since I was up on the island. But I feel like there's something there.
I think there is too, but yeah, I would certainly sleep with one eye open. The horse union rolls deep.
The Teamsters, right? I think that would be. I just know there's a horse on their logo.
Oh, you ready to talk some ball, Alex?
Let's talk ball, Jordan.
All right. So as I listened to a bunch of the games this weekend. I didn't necessarily watch them. I was thinking through, man, this show is just going to be an absolute doo-doo show. It turns out when they give us something to be happy about, we're kind of happy boys. And these last couple nights, there's been some things to be happy about.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I mean, obviously the season as a whole, the wheels have kind of fallen off to this point, but June, they're looking great, Jordan. I know June 1st, that first game in Tampa Bay, they almost coughed it up, which would have been unfathomable, but I mean, the boys looking good tonight. Start to get some of these regulars back in the lineup off the injured list. Kind of like guys are coming through the portal in that one Avengers movie. We're starting to feel good, Jordan.
Sure, yeah. Kind of serious question, kind of kidding. Are we sure it's over?
Oh, no. I mean, until they're mathematically eliminated, I'll never fully give up hope, even if that is folly and foolish of me. No, I mean, realistically, there's 6.5, 7 games out of the wild card with like 100 games to go. That's nothing, That's nothing.
We have seen just how nothing it is firsthand. It would be, oh my gosh, it would be so satisfying to do that back to Cleveland. The problem is there's like 5, or that's impossible in a division. There's 4 teams that we would have to do that to, not just Cleveland. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that we're probably going to make this comeback, but a few wins certainly makes turning on the old television a little bit easier.
They just have to look the part. Like, what was their record? Like 6-20 something in May. Like, even for a bad team, that's a horrific month. So, even if they're not going to be World Series contenders, they can go back to just looking like an adequate baseball team that's not making 3 errors in 1 inning or what it was. I think we're all going to be happy. Just start to play ball, one game after the other, after the other, after the other. Hopefully, they win tonight. It's going to be their first series win since the beginning of May, which would be huge.
Holy crap!
Isn't that crazy? But
it feels like forever. But yeah.
But that, for me, Jordan, it's like, let's take off the illusion of the expectations that we had at the beginning of the season and just try to enjoy the games. And when they have a night like tonight, it's easy to do, and let the chips fall where they may. I remember in the 2024 season, which was our first year doing the show together, we were both like, nah, they're not going to make the playoffs when they started to get a little bit hot, and that's when gritty times happen. I'm not saying lightning is going to strike twice, but just give us something to root for the rest of the way. I mean, I don't want to be apathetic in early June. I want, if you're going to break my heart, do it in September.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I've already heard a lot of non-Tigers fans be like, man, if you're not gonna make it, if you're not gonna make a run, like really crash and burn, get a high draft pick, make sure that you like have to sell Scoop, all that kind of stuff. And like from a purely like game theory perspective, sure, that probably is the best, but like I don't know. Baseball is every bit as much fan experience as it is wins and losses, and that would make for a really, really bummer of a summer. So I'm fully in on. If we can get to third in the division, that'll probably feel pretty good, and then go from there. Something like that. Especially considering how much the Royals and the Twins are passable.
And it can't get worse. I mean, we've been saying this pretty much the entirety of this losing spell, Jordan. Like
counterpoint to that, though, is we keep finding ways to make it worse. So in theory,
this is true.
I feel like we have been incorrect on that. But go on.
That's true. Well, there's got to be a bottom somewhere, and I truly believe like positive regression is coming, even if it doesn't. And I say this with a caveat: even if it doesn't mean anything for the season, like some of these players are going to start to hit a little bit, as we're seeing in this series. Like these guys aren't just going to become like AA players flailing at the major league level collectively for the entirety of the season, and they've dealt with injuries, which we're not going to use as an excuse, but like it's the reality of the situation. So there is better baseball coming, just because career averages usually even out. Even if they're going to finish the season well below what they normally would, I still can't believe all of these guys collectively are going to have like arguably historically bad seasons for themselves and for their
mathematically, you would think that couldn't possibly be. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Yes.
And I want to float a theory to you before we move into some of the things that have actually been quietly good.
Sure.
I will fully admit I'm maybe a little bit out over my skis on this. It has been 1 and 60% of another game that we've looked not terrible, and even last night things got incredibly dicey. But assuming this is kind of the first step to leveling the ship, I kind of get the feeling, like obviously we saw a huge debacle down the stretch last year, and it felt like absolutely nothing could fix it. Nothing could pull him out of the tailspin. Now, we've discussed this many times. Is it AJ's responsibility to try to right the ship? Is it the senior leadership on the team that's trying to get people to get their heads out of their butts? Like, obviously, luck, injuries, all that kind of stuff. It's a combination of all of that. But to a certain extent, it kind of feels like we've been befallen by these like immovable objects that are just coming at us, and there's nothing that can be done with them, or nothing that we as a Tigers organization are capable of dealing with. It a little bit feels like, to me, getting both Carpenter and Glaber, both the infusions of talent and like personalities into that clubhouse, it almost feels like a little bit of a jolt when it comes to just shaking up what has to be very stale air. And I think that getting them both back in such quick succession, I think, is a really big deal. And I mean, obviously 2 games is an incredibly small sample size to prove that out. But I wonder if we'll look back at Carey coming back on, was it Saturday or Sunday, whatever day he came off the aisle, as like kind of the start of the end of it being so cataclysmically bad.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. When they were going through this horrible stretch, there were really 2 offensive players that you could lean on a night in, night out basis. Riley Green, who went on an absolute tear, right, and unfortunately pretty wasted, and Kevin McGonigal. That's 7 other spots where it was completely a back hole. Even if it's 2 more players, what is the percentage of, like, more than 40% of your lineup out of 9 guys? You're going from 2 guys to 4 guys who can at least look the part and give you a professional at bat. And we know Gleyber Torres is on base machine. That dramatically changes the makeup of a team, right? And you're starting to see like the Hao-Yu Lees and the Gage Workmans and some of these other guys are starting to get sent down, as they should be, because they should be in the minor leagues. And you at least have professionals who can give you the look that you want and can occasionally run into one and, have been there and have done it before and have, even though neither of those guys are probably going to be all-stars this year, going to have all-star seasons, it's night and day difference from what they've had before. So I think the optics alone could be a big part of that, as you're mentioning. I know they mentioned on the broadcast a lot of these guys are close in the clubhouse. It's like getting your buddies back who have been gone for a while. But, just the threat of having actual major leaguers in the lineup protects some of the other guys. And
it sounds so simplistic, but that has to be the case. Yeah.
I think there's some truth to it. So I think there's a little bit of a stew being put together here of all the good things that we've been waiting for, and finally we're getting that first little taste, and we're like, this tastes really good compared to what we've had before, which is moldy bread.
Definitely. And I think it's got to be good for the mental health of guys like McGonigal and Riley and Dingler, that they don't look at each other and be like, well, if it's not one of us, it's just not going to happen. Because I think there's only so long that those 3 guys can put the team on their back and not just completely collapse. And you really don't want a 22-year-old rookie to be part of that dynamic like that. That only breeds bad things. But yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to get carried away that, like I said, 1 game and a positive, what has it been, 7 innings is enough to make me think that like it's done. But I think that there's been a little bit of solid ground hit. Now, obviously, we are still tied for last place. This is not a silver bullet that's going to fix everything. We are still one of the worst teams in baseball. But yeah, just a little bit of level setting would be nice, especially for guys that have to watch more or less every game to talk about it once a week.
That's true. Jordan, you have a quote that you use very often that I really like and I really believe in. Sometimes you just have to see the ball go through the hoop once to believe. And I think with as many walk-offs as they had, there was like some statistic that over the last like 5 or 7 series, they'd been walked off at least once, which is like hasn't happened since the 92 White Sox or something crazy. Sometimes you just need that breath of fresh air to be like, okay, we can win games, we can win series. Like
it can be done.
It can be done, right? They were stuck in the spin cycle, as I like to say, spin cycle of doom. So sometimes you see that ball go through the net once, and it kind of refreshes you and resets your entire mindset. And I feel like in 1.5 games, as you mentioned, we're starting to see that on the mental side of this team.
Yeah. And this could massively come back to bite us in the butt. It's still our bullpen. There's still, 3 innings to go in this one, and, who knows what's to come. But we're so desperate for scraps at this point that, like, I don't even care. I'm back in a little bit. Let's move to the starting pitching. As you've mentioned, just about everything has been an absolute dumpster fire, but the starting pitching kind of hasn't.
Yeah, they've been quietly good. I know he is on the injured list right now, but Casey Meisner on the season, a 2.27 ERA and a 0.97 WHIP, which I have a little exclamation point here. That's really good. I mean, I had mixed expectations for him this season. I think our bold predictions, I can't remember if I predicted him or Flaherty. I think it was him. I thought he would have like a 4.5 ERA at the trade deadline. No, like he has gone out there and looked like a legitimate number 2. Troy Melton, albeit only 12 innings pitched, he's got a 1.42 ERA and a 0.95 WHIP. Framber, some really mixed results recently, but I still, from the eye test and what I believe, I think he's been better than not, or more good than bad. 4.39 ERA with a 1.32 WHIP. And Cater Montero, Jordan.
Finish on Cater. We'll come back to Framber, but yeah, finish on Cater.
3.69 ERA and a 1.0 WHIP. And I do have a question for you regarding Montero, but yeah, let's dive into Framber a little bit.
Okay, so I don't know Framber. We obviously are not boys with the guys. He very, very much strikes me as a guy that when things aren't going well and the vibes are low, he's not at his best. You know what I mean? Like, I think he is, honestly, like, that's not the best character trait to have in a clubhouse. Like, he just seems like a little bit of a blue skies kind of guy. He obviously has had some temper issues in the past. Like, I just see him doing better when we are doing better. And when we're in an absolute tailspin, I can see his results not being the greatest. Now, obviously, you pay him to be a stopper. Is what it is. Like, I that doesn't, like, negate that fact. It's absolutely true. But yeah, I suspect he has been largely good, and I suspect that if this team turns into something closer to a 500 team or something like that, we will see a lot closer to the $35-40 million pitcher that we're paying. Anyway, that's all I have on him.
No, and I agree with you. And I still like the signing. A lot of people I've seen on Tigers Twitter, obviously, Tigers Twitter is incredibly pissy lately, and for good reason. I'm not going to tell anyone that they shouldn't feel the way they should with the team we've been watching, but I still think it's a solid signing. I think he's going to help you next year, and I'm all about it.
And if you're going to be so pissy about them not signing this bad, or like, they spent the money to go get a pitcher. You may not have agreed on what guy they put the money into, but like, we can't complain about not spending money and be pissy about the guy that we spent money on. Like, that doesn't work. So, but Tigers Twitter is an irrational place. You may have noticed.
An echo chamber of negativity. Jordan, I need to get into the Cater Montero debate from the other night in the White Sox series. He was cruising, Jordan. 65 pitches. I think it was in the fifth. And A.J. Hinch goes out and pulls him. People lost their minds online. Local sports radio lost their minds online. Everyone couldn't believe it. It was said by a few people that was the worst managerial decision A.J. Hinch has had with his tenure in the Tigers. Pointedly, I asked the question to you. Was that the right move? And also, does it matter at all with the way the bullpen is anyway? Like, if he would have gone 8, does it matter if he got pulled in the 5th or the 8th? But let's boil it down because I'm being a little facetious. Was that the right move in your opinion?
I mean, I feel like managerial decisions are always proven backwards. It obviously wasn't, because he pulled him and the lead didn't stick. Therefore, bad decision. That being said, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It was the last place team. We're tied for last place in all of baseball. Like, who really cares? And also, he pulled Flaherty tonight after 5. He was absolutely cooking, gone to the bullpen, and tonight he's gotten 2 scoreless. Like, it is a genuine crapshoot, especially with the arms we have out there. At this point, would I lean towards leaving starters in longer? Yeah, like, of course. The guys that are coming out of that pen are having a tough moment. How about that? But I don't know. I have a hard time getting upset with any managerial decision in the month of May or June or probably July. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too stressed or something. Like, I just don't have the time or the energy to get too worked up about a managerial decision in May. How about you? What did you come up with? I feel like you have hot takes here or something.
I don't know if it's too much of a hot take, but I do think it was a mistake. And I think last week we talked a lot about over-managing, and I think that was a clear over-managing position. No matter what you think about the third time in the order or whatever the reason he gave in the postgame. And again, like, I have to say, I feel like it's qualifier. I think A.J. Hinch is one of the best managers in baseball. I think this was a mistake on his part. If you've got a guy rolling and nothing else is going right in terms of the levers that you're pulling, just stick with the guy. If he gets beat in that third time in the order, I don't think anybody's going to yell and scream that you should have pulled him out when he was absolutely rolling with a low pitch count, especially with the way the bullpen's shaking up. So I'm going to go on record and say yes. I think as good as A.J. Hinch usually has been in the past, that was a gaffe. And if he could tell you off air and, off the record, I think he'd probably say, yeah, that was not one of my better moments. But you know what, Jordan? That's okay. We move forward. People had their pitchforks and torches out and were ready to run him out of town for one decision. Obviously, tonight, he's pushing the right buttons because they have a huge lead on the Rays. So you move forward. It happened. I'm not willing to kill the guy over it.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like you say, it's tough sledding in that bullpen. So anytime you can not use them, I think it probably at the moment is a better idea to not use them. I do want to, before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to Troy Melton. We gushed about him last week. I feel every bit as needing to gush about him this week. He is what becomes of this season is relatively irrelevant. It is going to be a rotation of Framber, Melton, Job, Montero, and then fill in the blank next season. We absolutely need to see and hopefully develop all of those guys into becoming a top end of the rotation that can win ball games. Obviously I'd love to see Melton keep cooking at a 1.42 ERA. I don't know. That's obviously not sustainable, but get in, shoot his bullets, take his lumps, and become somebody that is a horse for 2027. And he's showing every sign that can be him.
Oh, absolutely. Aren't we so glad that he did not get shipped off at last year's deadline for Eugenio Suarez? And I was pounding my fist on the table for the Tigers to trade a bat. But I'm glad he's here in the Old English D, Jordan, because he is going to be a piece moving forward. And again, I think a rotation next year of Valdez, Melton, Job, Montero, and question mark, and I'd love to bring Casey Mize back.
You can't bank on him, but Reese Olson's still kicking around out there.
That's very true.
But I refuse to give up on my boy. Prince Red.
I like him a lot too, but he's got to show me. But I think that can still be a top half of the league in terms of rotation next year,
and that's without any signings.
Exactly, with $90 million coming off the books next year. So, no, I'm with you, and I've loved the way he looks. I love the demeanor. He just seems like a really humble kid that doesn't let the moment get too big for him. And I love the way that he's been chucking since he came back for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move out to the bullpen. You have some numbers on here for some of the guys. And spoiler, they're really bad. Drew, my boy, he's actually been not the biggest problem out there, but I feel like after a nice long stretch of him being successful, even I'm a little bit leery again. It's just if he can hit spots, and that kind of comes and goes, which he's got good stuff, but not good enough stuff to overcome that. Holton has been better, he says, with a question mark. I mean, eye test, he's looked better over the last couple outings. Then the numbers were so bad that basically any decent outing is going to help. And Vest has... How do you evaluate what you've seen from Vest since coming back? I feel like I have some mixed signals on our boy. What do you see?
I am buying Will Vest stock by the boatloads, Jordan. The stock is so low right now, but I'm a huge believer in this guy. I don't have the number in front of me, but the xFIP, which is essentially like what his numbers should be in a perfect world, are way lower than the ERA. I mean, not including last night, it was a 7.41 ERA with a 1.47 whip. Those are not good numbers, but he also proved to me last night, I mean, he got the 6-out save, and he inherited the bases. Like, he's still got that dog in him, and he's still got the high-octane fastball, and he's still got the ice in his veins. And, yeah, he's had a really rocky season, but so have all of these guys. And this is a guy, honestly, that I hope they don't ship out at the deadline because I think he is going to be a piece for them moving forward. He was the closer at some point. Obviously, they signed Jansen, but yeah, the numbers have been ugly, Jordan, but just like in my heart of hearts, I'm like, this guy, he's going to figure it out and he's going to get back to the Will Vest of old. And that's the kind of guy that I think they need in the bullpen, and a lot of the guys that we've all been clamoring for them to have. A guy that can throw heat and have a little bit of motion on the mound. So, Yeah, I mean, I know the numbers have been mixed, but yeah, give me all the Will Vest stock so I can cash out on it later.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. To me, a closer is at least 50% mental. You know what I mean? Like, there aren't necessarily a ton of positions in a 26-man that are, but closer absolutely is. And you could see it last night. The Will Vest that was the as you say, the dog, that closer, the guy, the absolute firefighter stopper last year, it's still in there. I agree. I think the numbers will catch up eventually. And I mean, he's kind of dug himself into a bit of a hole when it comes to the numbers, like ERA and WHIP and that kind of stuff. But I think that they will be perfectly fine by the end of the year. And I agree. Ideally, we go into next year with him.
What's going on with our boy Bo Brisky? Because he's getting smoked like a brisket out there, Jordan. And we had some really high hopes for the young man coming in, but he has looked not prepared, to say the least. What are you seeing out of Bo Brisky in his few innings so far?
I feel like it's really easy analysis to say my man can't hit a spot, but my man can't hit a spot. When he came in on Friday, Saturday, whatever his first game back was, Dan was talking on the radio about how he had some mixed results in the minors, but Brisky kind of assured him that, like, he knew what had gone wrong and he was, like, ready to fix that. Hear me out. Maybe he didn't know what went wrong and he still hasn't fixed it, because the results would suggest that he has not fixed it. The home runs that he gave up were, you guys saw them, they were not cheapies. These are balls getting absolutely mashed. I don't know. I feel like a return to Toledo probably makes the most sense. He's never going to get innings if he stays up and we're trying to compete. Like, I think this is an arm you got to have at some point, or at least know one way or the other. That being said, like, I don't know who you bring in Slick Rick back. Like, I don't know exactly who comes back for that. Maybe Bailey Horn, is he in the I believe he's getting a little closer, but it is rough stuff for Bo, which is a bummer, because I was looking forward. I like Bo. I don't know exactly why. I was really looking forward to seeing him, but
I mean, we thought we were going to see Bo Brisky from the Gritty Tigers 2024 season, and it just kind of hasn't been the case since then. So
there's a chance that we just never get that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it might have just, it might be past. Hopefully not, but
you and I think, fall in love with some of these relievers and just assume that they're going to be good forever.
There is a chance of that, yeah. Yep. That might be on us. Who's to say?
Jordan, you have a fascinating question here. What bullpen arm is still on this roster when the Tigers play their next playoff game? It might be a complete overhaul. I completely agree with you. And there's only one name I think that could potentially be that guy. And we'll bring that up later. I think they could be back in the playoffs as early as next season. But
yeah, absolutely.
Give me your answer here.
I think it's one. The only other person in the... That's not true. There's two other guys that I would go back and forth on. I think Finney can be a middle reliever, firefighter type. I don't think that a really good playoff team has him in high leverage. Obviously, the ERA is great, and everything else is terrible. And I could... Lord help me, I could see Tyler Holton figuring it out again. I refuse to give up on that man. That being said, if I were a betting man, I would not a betting podcast, but I would put my money on Will Vest being the only bullpen arm still on the roster. It's just, I don't know. I mean, everyone knows at this point I'm a water carrier for Scotty. It's not a particularly well put together bullpen. The things that you want out of your relievers, our guys don't do, and the things that you don't really care about, that's what we're good at. I kind of don't mind tearing it down. That being said, like, there's 7 guys out in the, or excuse me, 8 guys out in the bullpen. That's a heck of a redo. All right, I pose the same question to you. Talk me off the ledge. You got any more?
Unfortunately, I think you're right. As much as I want to say Drew Summers is going to light the world on fire, Will Vest is my guy. And yeah, I mean, this exercise is like, throw the contracts out the window, obviously, because Finnegan's on a 1-year deal and any of that stuff. But yeah, Finnegan could be a dark horse. I think he is better than. I don't want to say better than the numbers show because he's got really good numbers, but like it's the underlying stuff and the recency that have given me cause for concern. But I think he's a decent pitcher. And yeah, I think Vest would be my choice as well. But other than that, they're really going to have to figure out something in the minors and free agency and trades. And I hate to say it, but they have no pitching depth of any kind in the upper minors right now. Starters, bullpen, or otherwise. So it's going to be tough to find internal candidates, and I think they're going to have to really get creative in this offseason. I mean, maybe assuming they're sellers, it's going to be intriguing what they get back for some of these pieces. But they're really going to have to rebuild the bullpen in its entirety. I think you're absolutely right about that, because this is just not a unit that can hold any kind of lead that they've shown, and you can't go into next season with these same guys.
You know how shallow the upper majors are for pitching, specifically bullpen? I saw a discourse today about whether it was time to give Tanner Rainey another try, and there was like a lot of engagement on it. It's not great.
That is like the backup quarterback effect. Are you familiar, Jordan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, the backup quarterback or the backup goalie is the most popular guy in town just because they're the name, right? So, if Jared Goff for the Lions is having a terrible time, no matter who the backup is, they're like, oh, throw Hendon Hooker out there, who was like this completely unproven, at that time, rookie player out of Tennessee. And like Hendon Hooker had no business being on an NFL field, but because he was a name, they're like, shit, Jared Goff out of here for picks and starts, it's just, who is the guy that's not currently pissing you off on the TV? That's who you want up. But it's like a vicious carnival ride cycle of just like, they're all the same, I promise you.
They really are. Yeah, I mean, Ricky Vanasco and Birch Smith, we were like, man, these guys strike people out. Like when they get up, maybe this is something. It wasn't something. Neither is Tanner Rainey. Also, we saw Tanner Rainey last year. You saw him throw, 5, 6, 7 times for us. Did any of those outings impress you? Let's keep Tanner Rainey down there in Ohio.
Yeah. Jordan, I feel like we're started positive, but we're going to still continue to harp on the negative just to get this
we have a last place team. I feel like it had to go there at some point. Yeah.
So before this miraculous turnaround in the beautiful month of June, the Tigers' hitting was, in a word, anemic. I've got a tweet here from Scott Bentley, the tremendous host of Locked On Tigers. During the White Sox series, Jordan, the Tigers went 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position. That's not one single hit the entire series with a man in scoring position. There are multiple regulars in this lineup with a sub-600 OPS. You have here 8 regulars with an OPS north of 738 last year. 3 of them are there this year. 5 guys, McGonigal, Dingler, Mize, Riley, and Skubal, are inside the top 76 in baseball for FWAR. 1 other is inside the 250, which would be Montero. That's not great, Jordan.
No. The absolute art of Scott's tweet is the Tigers went 0 for 12 this weekend with runners in scoring position, and then just the little LOL. Like, yeah, that I feel that deep in my soul. It hasn't been good. And honestly, like, they're facing a lefty tonight, and you've got 4 guys in the lineup hitting under 200 and another 2 hitting 218 or lower. Like, they're facing a lefty, so you obviously get some of the specialists, but it's been a lot of not great guys that have been running out there all the time. Your boy Zach Short still in the lineup more than he ought to be. I'm just going to keep saying
he was cooking tonight. He was cooking tonight.
I will give him that. That being said, I do think that this is we need to throw some love Wenzel's way. I was the first. Goodness knows I was not the only one, but I was ready to be done with that experiment. And it does appear that we shut this one down 8-0 shutout win. Manuel De Jesus 4 perfect innings. Should we be throwing him more? Should he pitch more?
I think that was his first appearance in quite some time, too, by the way.
I kind of forgot that he was on the team, to be completely honest. But anyway, we did finish it out. So we are 2 games into the miraculous comeback. And Wenzel is swinging a hot stick. I think he is always going to be a what's the phrase? Shot in the pan, flash in the pan.
Flash in the pan. Yeah.
I have a very hard time with common sayings, but anyway, I think he is always a flash in the pan kind of player. I don't think this is somebody you can bank on like long term or over the course of 162 games, but it's nice that he is not a complete black hole at the moment, and hopefully it stays for a while.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a guy that really just needs to see the ball go through the hoop once. Wenzel, for all that we've heard or read, and I was talking to our friend Rogelio Castillo from Tigers Minor League Report, he was dejected in the Tigers clubhouse through this tough streak. And frankly, like, Wenzel Perez was never meant to be an everyday major league player. I think he was supposed to be a switch hitter off the bench. You know, he was an infielder in the minor leagues. He bounced around a little bit, maybe a shot in the arm, a change of pace player, if I can use a football term. Yeah. But he was never meant to just be like a regular starting middle of the order guy. And sometimes that can wear on these kids. I mean, let's not forget they're in their mid-20s, and to get to the major leagues, they've had a track record of success. And if you are going through a season like he is, it has to weigh on your psyche a little bit, and especially when there's no other option of just going out there night after night after night. So yeah, I'm thrilled for Wenzel. I don't think he's going to be a main piece moving forward, but just for his own sake, like, to see him hit a couple balls over the fence, get cooking a little bit, it's good for the team. It's good for Wenzel. Like, you know, yeah. He just seems like a nice kid, and you hated to see him going through it. As frustrating it was from a human perspective, I'm like, man, I feel for this guy.
Yeah, we're back to him being far from our biggest problem, which, fair enough. Just don't be the worst, I guess.
True.
Yeah, talk to me about defense.
Also, if you haven't noticed, the defense this season has not been great. This is a Fangraph statistic from May 29th, but the Tigers are 29th out of 30 teams. Surprisingly, there's one team worse in defensive runs saved. The Tigers clocked in on this late date in May with negative 19 defensive run saves, only bested by the Philadelphia Phillies at negative 26, which is kind of shocking.
Yeah.
But Jordan, I mean, I don't think it's any stretch to say it has been horrendous defensive play this season. I mean, you look at the how you Lee play. It's funny to me too, because Lee hit the home run last night. He had actually a pretty nice defensive play for a double play, but then he just absolutely makes like a T-ball level mistake trying to like. But that's been, you know, the entirety of the season in different ways. Whether it's Wenzel missed playing balls in right. Any of the infielders just kicking balls all over the dirt. It's been bad. And that has been probably the most surprising thing to me, Jordan, because of the way I know A.J. Hinch likes to manage and likes to put the best defenders out there. But also, like, this hasn't been the team at all in the past. And, you know, what's the famous quote? They're the same players, but not the same players, whatever the Scott Harris quote is. But they're not this bad defensively. So it's been perplexing to me this season that the defense has been as bad. I didn't think they were a team of Gold Glovers, but I know they're not a team of, I don't know, Edward Scissorhands either.
Yeah. I think there's something to the fact that we rarely have the same center fielder or shortstop 2 games in a row, which obviously a lot of teams are that way, and injuries hit everybody. That's not necessarily an excuse. How Lee isn't a butcher at second base because he doesn't know, one day it's McGonigal, one day it's McKinstry, one day it's Zach Short, all that kind of stuff like that. But I do think that having your captains of the infield and outfield constantly changing, like, it's not great. And we are down a little bit through attrition in both of those spots. That being said, the defense, I think, did get a whole lot better today, and that's not necessarily entirely a dig at How You Lee. Also, Glaber is just such a stabilizing force. It's not like he's a great defender, but you assume less dumb things are going to happen when he's on the field. You know what I mean? Like, then again, I'd have said the same thing about Matt Vierling, and you were hot on his case last week. I don't know. I think he's a big time stabilizing force, but actually both at the dish and in the field. So I think that plays. I was a little, I don't want to say surprised that it was How You Lee and not Zach Short, but I think that Hao Yu Lee has some things to work on going back down. That being said, I was actually impressed how the bat was starting to come around. But yeah, defense not great. And I think that some of the guys coming back will help, but also just, I don't know. I think winning will help that too. I don't want to say that they're not focused because they're not winning, but I do think there is a little bit of human nature that, like, man, everything sucks. I haven't got a hit in 3 weeks, and now this, like, tough ground ball has hit at me, or even a routine ground ball, my head is somewhere else. I don't know. I think there's something a little bit to that too. But we'll see. It, just like everything else, it kind of literally can't get a whole lot worse.
Yeah. Amen, Jordan. And the only thought I have on the Zach Short for how Yu Lee play is one, as you mentioned, Zach Short can largely look the part on defense. He can catch the ball, and I think Lee, let's say, is a work in progress. But
Agreed.
also, Lee just he needs the at bats, right? Like, he needs the regular playing time. And at this stage in his career, whether you're a believer or not believer, I think we can all agree the best thing for him is to just get regular at bats and be in the lineup every single night. Like, he's not going to turn into anything, being a spot starter, and he's not good enough to be a utility infielder. So,
yeah, I don't want to see him get pigeonholed as I can only hit lefties infielder. We have enough of those. I don't know that he's better than that, but let's make sure that he's not before we turn him into Jahmai Jones.
Yeah. Well put, Jordan. So my question for you, and this is something I've been really stewing on, and I feel strongly about this, but before I give my thoughts, I want to ask you, what is more likely? The team is about to go through another full rebuild that will last 3 to 5 years, and they will tear it all down to the studs, and it will be a fire sale, or they are competitive and right back in the running as early as next season.
Is the question what they should do or what's most likely to happen?
What's most likely to happen?
I don't think they tear it down. I think this is a rebuild and go again next year. I don't think the division will be a ton better. The White Sox might be a little bit more untouchable. Then again, they're getting some really good pitching from some really not good pitchers. So maybe that kind of evens out. But that being said, like, not much of the hitting core. And obviously we can pass our judgment on if the hitting core is good enough to compete, but not much of that hitting core is going to be gone. It's only going to be supplemented by Max and any signings. And as we've laid out, the rotation's still probably going to be top half next year. And that's without any signings. It seems to me like if you're going to fully tear down, like, when does it stop? I just don't get, like, do you want another 3, 4, 5 years of being terrible? And also remember that, like, just because you have a plan for how long that rebuild is going to take, like, it took us forever to get out of it last time. Like, willingly going into that is a choice. So, yeah, I think that more of a reload is probably the case this year. But I want to hear your stewings.
Yes. Jordan, yes. I fully believe that the team, even if they bottom out this year and they finish as a last place club, they can be back in it and competitive as early as next season. They have some really exciting players on this team, largely with Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal, Dylan Dingler on the offensive side of the ball. We talked about the pitching before. But if any of these guys that are absolutely floundering were just having career average seasons and not career worst season, they'd be a 500 team. If they didn't give up the most come from behind losses in baseball, they'd be a 500 team right now. Everything that has gone wrong, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And they've got so much money coming off of the books next year. If you want to replace a Spencer Torkelson with just any other name who can give you, I don't know, like 230 and 15 home runs, that's markedly better than we're getting right now, right? And that's not like a superstar player that you're either trading for or signing. But go around the diamond, and if you're just finding guys to fill slots that have a little bit of upside and aren't going to absolutely falter, this could be a decent team. That's not even mentioning that you've got Max Clark on the way. We don't know what he is, but we all think he's going to be an exciting player. He could be nothing. He could be something. I choose to believe. And all the other guys that they have coming. So I think some retooling is necessary. Obviously, Scott Harris, if he's still here, he's going to have to get aggressive and actually start to bring in some major league talent in terms of trades. But there's no reason next season that they cannot compete for the AL Central title. And I'm with you, Jordan. At what point do you start to hang on to these homegrown guys? Riley Green is one of the best homegrown talents this organization has had since Alan Trammell and the rest of those guys. You're going to ship him out for what? The chance that you might develop that same player in the future? At some point, you have to just stop this cycle, right? Like, it's that Family Guy joke, like, why take a boat when we can get the mystery box? It could even be a boat. Like, you are trying to develop Riley Green in any of these guys, and you have him right here, right now in front of you. Like, you don't have to recreate the wheel. And I get it. The team is at an emotional peak right now, but I think it would be such a tremendous miscalculation of the front office to trade a player like Riley Green, who is in the heart of your order right now and entering his prime, in the hopes that you are going to replicate that in the future. I'm tired of the losing. I'm tired of losing this season, but I am not willing to go through that again with the pieces that they have, because I think this is a down year, but they're going to be right back in it next year. Maybe that's wishful thinking. Maybe that's fan casting. But the people that are like, trade everything that's not Dale Down or not named Kevin McGonigal, I think it's foolish. I think it's foolish, and I think you're being emotional.
Definitely. And that's part of why we have it, front office people running teams, not fans. If you wanted to tell me that you were trading Riley for somebody like, I don't know who would even be in the same range, like Jackson Merrill or
Corbin Carroll or something.
Corbin Carroll, somebody like that like is already good and established. Sure, I can definitely be sold on some of the downsides of Riley's game. But I even think of guys like Josue DePaula and Mike Sirota, guys that we're going to hear a lot about over the next month or two with the Dodgers. Best case scenario, maybe not absolute, most reasonable best case scenario is they are Riley Green. Obviously, there's a 1% chance they turn into something better, but these are top 20 prospects. It's not guaranteed. So yeah, I think that is. I don't know. Being a fan, especially of baseball, it's a long game. If you want to be emotional, no sweat off my back. It's maybe a little bit more on the emotional side than the logical side.
Yeah, it's enticing to think about what these players and the other organizations can turn into, especially when you've got so many prospect rankings out there. But you know who else was a top 10 prospect at one point and an absolute can't miss? Spencer Torkelson. The number one overall pick that most of us thought was going to be the heart of the order hitter and one of the best Tigers of the recent generation. And look at him now. So that's why I'm thinking they need to build. And I'm not trying to call anybody out here. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah, I don't care.
But I truly believe they need to build on what they have now, which I'm fully admitting isn't like a World Series contender next year. But I'll be so disappointed if the plan is to just blow it up and like, okay, let's start over from square one, because I just can't stomach something like that again so quickly after we just got out of it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, but it was long and it sucked, like really, really bad. It drove Eric and I to stop podcasting. That being said, we've dogged on Spencer Torkelson a lot in the last 10 minutes. That being said, if he's not in the lineup next year, I'm going to be pissed to live through this year and not get back to his 31 homer season next year. Because am I convinced that there's some sort of witch's curse that is turning this every other year thing? I might be. I don't know. I might be there.
Yeah, I mean, they've stuck with him this long. They need to get the payoff for next year's
Yeah,
and I'm convinced, Jordan, he will go on to have a decent career probably in another organization. I don't think the current version of Spencer Torkelson is the player that he is. I think he is a prime change of change of scenery candidate. How about that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And we seem to come away with a lot of guys like that.
Jordan, do you have any Tiger King crown to give away this week?
I do, and honestly, there's a couple options. I don't even, did we give them away last week? I think it was so bad we skipped the feature. But there's a couple this week. I want to give mine to Dylan Dingler. You mentioned him earlier. the man has just been absolutely on fire. OPS of 1100, 3 bombs, another couple doubles, driving the runs in. Like, he has been in the center of everything. He is just a really, really good catcher. He's easy top 5 catcher in baseball, and to kind of just, I don't want to say he came out of nowhere. He was a second-round pick, but he had largely been forgotten kind of as a prospect, and to come back and do all of this. I mean, he is I wouldn't say the heart and soul of the lineup, but certainly one of the guys you want up there in that big situation, and he's been swinging a hot stick. Who is yours?
Mine is going to go to Ty Madden, Jordan.
Okay.
I think he looked really good yesterday, and I think from a guy that we have not been expecting anything from, he has looked the part, and he's been a good soldier. So coming off the injury list, that one's a little bit more on vibes than anything. But I did want to go back to Dingler, Jordan. I think that's a tremendous pick. I did a little bit of research because I've just been so pleased with the season that he's having right now. And I don't think enough people are talking about the breakout performance he's truly having. So last year in 126 games, he had a 4.1 F4 season, which is good, especially for a catcher. This year in 2026, in just 54 games, he's got a 2.4 F4, so already more than half of all that he had last season. He's carrying a 129 WRC plus. As we all remember, the 100 WRC plus is league average. He is on pace for a roughly 7 WAR season, which would be elite production from a catcher. And our friend Jed over across the pond mentioned earlier on Twitter that a Tigers catcher for the organizational history, the best season would be Bill Freehan in 1968 with a 6.9 F4.
Nice.
Dingler's on the hunt, Jordan. It could happen.
Yes.
Like, he could finish statistically as the best Tigers catcher in terms of WAR that they've ever had. That's exciting. Like that excites me as a player that they will have next year. And I think of all the players, like him and McGonigal are probably the most insulated from any trade talk. But I do think this guy is going to be a piece for them moving forward, and a really good one.
Yeah, I've actually seen like a few. I'm assuming it's like other team fan accounts talking about how he'd be such a good trade target. I'm like, yeah, I bet he would for you. Yeah, I think there are a lot of dumb things Scotty could do. I don't think he's that dumb. I sure hope he's not that dumb.
All right, I love this. Let's keep the good times rolling. So tomorrow they go for the sweep, Jordan. How nice is that to say?
What a
against
world.
the Tampa Bay Rays, and then they welcome the dastardly Seattle Mariners to town. What is your prediction for the next 4?
I'm gonna play it safe. You know what? Screw it. I think they're going to go 3-1. I think there's a little bit of something cooking. I think there's a little bit of bad vibes still in that clubhouse from the Seattle series. I think it's going to mean a little bit more. Also, we're averaging 9 runs a game over the last 2 games. We're absolutely swinging a hot bat. Yeah, 3-1.
Give me 3-1 as well. I think they're going
go.
to take care of the sweep tomorrow, take the series from those Mariners, and then we're cooking, and then the race is on.
Then the race is, I agree, the race is on. Speaking of averaging 9 runs a game, I don't know what the over-under for tomorrow's game is, but I would be very interested in the under. Just love averages. We've been scoring a lot of runs. We got Melton on the bump. That screams 2-1 win to me or something like that. So
I'm with you. You ready to go down on the farm?
Yeah, let's do it. It's a little bit more of like updates as opposed to things that have been going well or poorly. Trey Cruz was activated Friday at Toledo, where he hadn't played since April 20th. He was hitting only 200 with a 579 OPS before the injury, but he is somebody that probably missed some playing time by being injured through this whole doo-doo stretch. Switch hitter, which you know AJ is going to like when he comes up. I can't imagine we don't see him at some point this year. But he's back and now in the lineup down at Erie. Andrew Sears is working his way back through the levels after an injury. He is, according to MLB Pipeline, which obviously there's a trillion different rankings, he is the top-rated pitching prospect in the organization. Got to have something from him. Big lefty. He only has a few innings under his belt at Erie, so it's not exactly imminent, but kind of something. And Jake Miller, the other top pitching prospect, well, him and Weatherspoon, begins rehabbing tonight at Lakeland. He has not pitched yet this year. Another guy that, if we're going to get something out of the arms in the system, it's probably going to come through some of the guys like this. And then last one, Jordan Yost. I was just checking in on him. Through 82 at bats in Lakeland, he has 14 walks to 15 strikeouts. Classic Scotty left-handed hitting shortstop. On base of 386, 727 OPS, and the Florida State League notoriously suppresses offense, so that's a pretty good start to the year for him. And I'm apparently just going to mention him every week. Bryce Rayner's starting to look a little bit better at West Michigan. I think we all need to get out there, see our boy Bryce, let him know, Bryce, we still believe in you. We don't care if you strike out a ton. Just get that swing going. Nobody's watching. You're at West Michigan. You can do what you need to do. Get that A-Rod potential out. So anyway, that's the farm.
I do want to go back to Jordan Yost for a second. Jordan, the 727 OPS really intrigues me because this kid is wiry, like he's a string bean, but he's got like a large potential build, if you will. Like he's got room to add muscle on. So if he's able to hold his own, as you mentioned, the Florida State League, that kind of quiets the offense, that could be really good because we know what he can do with the glove. He's got elite plate discipline, understanding the zone. It's always just going to be the power with him. So if he can kind of tap into that as he grows, I think they could have something intriguing there for sure. And you know who else is on the bump for the Toledo Mudhens tonight, Jordan?
I do. I haven't checked in. How has he done?
I haven't checked in either, but one Justin Verlander is making his Mudhens debut. Probably not debut. I mean, I did want to look up how many years it's been, but I didn't do that. But yeah, he is on the way back if all goes according to plan. So that's exciting. If nothing else, then a little nostalgia coming back.
Yeah, we had discussed trying to get to if he was rehabbing in Toledo, but it was in Iowa. That's where they're at this week. It was somewhere out of town. That would have been awesome. Well, Toledo is currently up 13-0 in the sixth, so I don't think he did too awfully terrible.
There we go.
Hopefully he did it.
All right.
Hopefully
everything's
didn't go
coming
full
up
out.
Tigers.
Cobb and actually finished. Yeah, everything is coming up Tigers.
Are you ready to get into some listener questions, Jordan?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Litzner on Twitter, he says, looking at 2026 in comparison to 2024 and 25, it feels like this team needs its players to have career years in order to stay competitive. How does the team succeed without this? Is it just a matter of level of talent, avoiding stints on the injured list, or cursing other teams? Well, certainly someone has cursed us. We kind of talked about this a little bit. I think they just need to have a balance of guys not absolutely cratering, and they do need an infusion of talent on this team. Like, there's definitely positions that they need a little bit more. But again, as bad as they've looked, I don't think the team is. I think the team is closer to being a winning team and an above 500 team than they are from what they look right now.
Yeah, I agree. And being they're not bottom half payroll, but they're right in there. Like you need things to go right. You don't have the overwhelming depth of talent to fix it when it doesn't. And yeah, that's how you get where we're at.
Indeed. Lev Zubov on Blue Sky, he wants to know, if the season finishes with the Tigers, who is getting fired from the front office and or coaching staff? If anyone is anyone held accountable, or do they keep giving everyone 2000, or do they keep everyone given 2024-2025 results? What do you think?
What do you think? I want to hear what you have to say first.
I don't think Scott Harris or AJ Hinch gets fired.
Yeah, I agree. I might be alone in saying this. I feel like I've seen more people than not thinking that Scotty is on thin ice. I think he has pretty deep job security. I think his main job is to do the best he can and keep saying, "Oh, yes, thank you, sir," to Chris Ilitch. I think that is his primary job. I think he is currently doing that. I think he will continue to do that. And as long as he does that, I really don't think Chris cares in the slightest what the fans think. People are still going to the park. AJ, I will be very, very angry if we fire AJ. Scotty's become my boy. Wish I hadn't said that, but it's true. I'd be irritated if they let him go. I'd be genuinely pissed if AJ went. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. We agree. Shocker.
No, I think if next year, 2027, let's assume that they don't make the playoffs this year. I'll just say that. If next year they also don't make the playoffs, then I think they both go.
Yeah, I agree with them.
Unless there is like some catastrophe or salacious thing that happens, I don't think either of them are getting fired no matter how they finish this year.
Yep.
Shay on Twitter, he says, after a long gap between playoff appearances 2014 until 2024, and considering the fact that we've had to rely on bullpen chaos so much the last couple of years, how is there still zero organizational rotation or bullpen depth? I will push back, Shay, on the starting rotation depth. I think that's where I will give them a little bit of a breath in terms of the injuries that happened this year. But I think a lot of the starters have been good this year. It's just, it's getting swallowed up in how bad the team is playing overall. But I don't think that they're losing these games by any stretch because of the starting rotation. Now, the bullpen, I'm totally with you. And that is, that's my knock on Harris this year. He put together a bullpen that has completely just fallen apart.
Yeah, I agree. We listed a while back the injured rotation, and it was filthy. It's not necessarily rotation depth that's the issue. It's quality of play everywhere else. So, yeah, I agree.
And finally, Andrew Yoder on Twitter. He wants to know, how many players should we expect to see moved at the deadline? He said he's thinking Skubal and a healthy Glaber, then maybe one of Mize, hoping, and Andrew's hoping he's brought back Flaherty or Finnegan. What do you think? This is going to be really intriguing, and obviously we're going to talk a lot about it as we march towards the August 4th trade deadline. But what's your number, and who do you think gets moved?
Yeah, we are almost certainly going to cover this topic in depth many, many times between now and then. Assuming that it doesn't look like we're going to make the playoffs, or even that it doesn't look like we've got a run in us, to the point where Skubal, it's negligent to not move him. So he is definitely on the list. I could see them moving Glaber in a way that they moved Carson Kelly a couple of years back. I wouldn't expect a huge deal for him, although I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I believe Carson Kelly brought back Liam Hicks, who turned into one of the best catchers in baseball that we had moved on. I think Casey is kind of the underrated one here. If Flaherty a couple of years ago got us Lorenzo and Trey Sweeney, also, I just remember Trey Sweeney existed earlier today, and I'm like, man, I haven't thought about Trey Sweeney in forever. Honestly, we could use him. That's neither here nor there. If Finnegan a couple of years ago was good enough to bring us Lorenzo, Mize back and firing would be a very, very enticing pickup for a team like the Brewers or, I don't know, that was just the one that came to me off the top of my head. A little bit more under the radar, but could potentially bring back a really nice piece. I think somebody would be insane to try to take on Flaherty, and hopefully there are non-analytically driven teams that would trade for Finnegan. So give me 3 with definitely Skubal and Mize, potentially one of the other 3 guys or someone else.
Yeah. Yep. No, I'm right there with you. I think Skubal goes. I think Mize goes. Glaber's an interesting name. Could be for a team that needs a steady Eddie at second base, but I also think some of the more unheralded guys could be moved in really small deals, like a Matt Vierling could go, or I don't know. Choose your other semi non-contributing player that's not a regular. Flaherty is interesting to me because as bad as he's been, the Tigers traded for Chris Paddock last year. Jordan.
That's true.
So there are teams out there.
Great point.
Who can buy low on some guys. And honestly, if they could get cash considerations for Jack Flaherty, I would say thanks for your service and goodbye, sir.
I got one name I could see that I think would blindside a lot of people. I could see Kerry Carpenter going at the deadline. Somebody looking for a left-handed power bat, somebody that potentially use off the bench, something like that. I could see him being... and I could maybe even see him getting a little bit more in return than one might think. I could see that being the one kind of everyday regular that actually heads. So, we'll see.
I do think, not at the deadline, but I think Spencer Torkelson will be traded in the offseason. Conversation for another day. But I was just trying to debate myself if he would be traded for a deadline move, but I really don't know a team that's going to swing like that, and they'd be selling incredibly low on him, which they're going to have to anyway. But
somebody's going to get his 31 homer season. Gosh dang it, it's not going to be us.
And you know it's going to be Cleveland.
I can't even go. I would be so pissed. That cannot happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan, that is it for this week's questions. That is it for this week's episode. Anything for the good of the order before we sign off this evening?
I don't know. I think things are looking a little rosier. I think vibes are a little bit up. Baseball is such a long game. If you're not enjoying watching, it is okay to not watch the team for a couple games, a couple weeks. This is entertainment. This is what we do for fun. If it is not fun watching, there is no gatekeeping or fan check. Nobody will ask you that. Take care of yourselves. But hopefully we're kind of past this is what I should have said 2 weeks ago, because then it was hopefully a lot more relevant. But take care of yourselves, and hopefully we're actually getting back to playing some good ball.
Amen, Jordan. I actually, like you, listened to some of it, but as I was on Mackinac Island, I watched 0 of the games, and my trip was much better for it. I missed most of that White Sox series, so don't feel like I missed a lot. But if you have to take a couple games off, if it continues to get bad, if you need to take some time away from the team, I think that's perfectly acceptable. You hit the nail on the head. It's an entertainment product, and ultimately we are not slaves to our own fandom, as it were, except for you and me that watch the team so we can do the show every week.
Is what it is.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, everyone who submitted questions this week. Love to see some new names in the listener questions. If you guys are listening and you want to feel so bold enough to ask us a question, we welcome it tremendously. If you want to follow along, we are at Eat 'em Up Pod across all the socials. You can submit listener feedback at eatemuppod@gmail.com. We love to hear from you guys. If you are not already subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Give us a 5-star review while you're doing it. Tell us how you're feeling about this season. Tell us how you're feeling about the Rays series where the Tigers won their first one in more than a month's time. Let's see what I'm missing here.
It's funny every time you say it. Sad, but funny.
Jordan is, if you want to follow along, his socials, he's hosted by Jay Hall on all the socials. I am at AUrban91. I did have to give a quick shout out to our boys, Jordan, Dylan and Dan. They are the father and son duo who emailed us last year. They hit us up again at eatemuppod@gmail.com, and they had gotten a shout-out on air as being Kevin McGonigal's friend. Don't have to get into the whole thing, but it was pretty humorous. They sent us the clip of them getting the shout-out. So way to go, guys. Love to see that, and thank you.
I think I just roll with it. They're just now McGonigal's friends and family. That's just who they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Always good to hear something, guys. So that's it, Jordan. On behalf of yourself, I'm Alex Urban. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.